The dog wouldn't stop hugging the crying kitten, and when the vet finally discovered why, he collapsed to the floor in tears. What he uncovered wasn't just heartbreaking, it was something no one could have imagined. The day Luna arrived at the shelter, it was raining. The kind of cold, gray drizzle that made everything feel heavier. She was tiny, barely the size of a loaf of bread. Soaked, trembling, and crying louder than any kitten the staff had ever heard. Her fur clung to her fragile body, and her eyes darted nervously at every sound. The vet assistants tried to calm her, wrapping her in blankets, offering warm milk, even playing soft music. Nothing worked. She wailed through it all, as if mourning something no one could see. In the next kennel over, an old golden retriever named Cooper watched quietly. He had arrived weeks earlier, recovering from a severe leg injury after being found wandering near fire-damaged property. Calm, gentle, and a bit slow-moving, Cooper was everyone's favorite. But today, something shifted. The moment Luna's cries echoed down the corridor, Cooper stood. With effort, he limped to the edge of his kennel and let out a soft, low whimper. The staff watched, unsure. Then, in a quiet decision none of them could explain, they opened his gate and allowed him into the room. Cooper walked straight to the crying kitten, lay down beside her, and gently placed one paw over her small body, pulling her close. Luna stopped crying. From that moment on, they were inseparable. No one could explain why, but Cooper wouldn't let go. And Luna had finally stopped feeling alone. In the days that followed, staff began to notice something unusual. Cooper never let Luna out of his sight. Wherever she went, his eyes followed. If she was taken to another room, he'd pace until she returned. If she cried, even slightly, Cooper would limp to her side and wrap his paw around her, pressing her into his chest. At first, everyone thought it was sweet, a wounded dog taking care of a scared kitten. But Cooper's behavior became more than just affectionate. It was protective, fierce, almost urgent. He'd lie awake at night with one eye open, making sure Luna was breathing. When shelter volunteers tried to separate them, even just for feeding, Cooper grew restless, whining until she was brought back. Luna had bonded, too. She nestled into the folds of his golden fur, curling beneath his chin to sleep. When she woke, her first instinct wasn't to stretch or yawn. It was to look for Cooper's paw and pull herself under it like a blanket. Their connection went beyond survival or comfort. It was something deeper, something the staff couldn't quite explain. And quietly, some began to wonder. Was Cooper protecting her, or was he afraid to lose her? As the days turned into a week, Luna's crying didn't stop. It only changed. She cried less during the night, but more during exams or whenever she was touched by anyone but Cooper. It was as if she only felt safe under his paw. Concerned, the shelter's veterinary team began a full health check. Luna was eating well, had no visible injuries, and her scans showed no infection. Everything looked normal, and yet, something felt wrong. Each time she was taken from Cooper's side, even for a moment, he would whimper, then bark, then scratch at doors. When she returned, he'd rush to her and immediately cover her again, ears low, breathing fast, eyes alert. One vet, Dr. Harris, began documenting the reactions. He noticed that Cooper's heart rate spiked every time Luna cried. It wasn't subtle, it was extreme. His tail stiffened. His eyes scanned the room like he was bracing for danger. This isn't just bonding, Dr. Harris murmured to a nurse. This is trauma. Deep, unresolved trauma. The pieces weren't fitting yet, but something in Cooper's behavior wasn't just about affection. It was about fear. Not fear of the present, but fear of something that had already happened. Digging through Cooper's intake records, Dr. Harris found a detail that had previously been overlooked. Cooper had been rescued from the edge of a burned-down home, charred debris, shattered glass, and collapsed wood all around him. He had been injured and covered in ash, found curled up beside what was believed to be a blanket. But now, something about that memory stood out. That blanket was never tested. Dr. Harris made a call to the fire department and obtained the original rescue report. The truth was devastating. The blanket wasn't fabric at all. It was fur. Cooper had been found next to the remains of a cat and 3 kittens, all deceased. He had shielded them, taking the burns and injuries himself. No one had pieced it together. Until now, Cooper hadn't just been rescued from fire. He'd been trying to protect his family. The behavior suddenly made sense. His need to wrap around Luna, his terror at being separated, the way his entire body reacted to her cries. Luna wasn't just a kitten to him. She was redemption, a second chance he never thought he'd get. A life he couldn't bear to lose. Not again. It happened during a routine scan. Luna was taken into the exam room for follow-up, just a few feet away from Cooper. But this time, she cried louder than usual, shaky, distressed, almost panicked. Cooper stood up abruptly, something he rarely did since his injury, and began pacing back and forth, whining uncontrollably. Then came a sound no one expected. A deep, haunting howl, raw, trembling, filled with something deeper than pain. The staff froze. Cooper scratched the exam room door with such desperation that his bandaged leg reopened. Inside, Dr. Harris stopped what he was doing. He looked at Luna, then at Cooper through the glass window, and something inside him cracked. He rushed out, knelt beside Cooper, and wrapped his arms around the trembling dog. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I didn't know. I didn't see it before." Tears welled in the vet's eyes as the memories all aligned. Cooper's loss, the way he grieved through Luna, the fierce devotion. It wasn't instinct. It wasn't just kindness. It was grief. Cooper wasn't protecting Luna out of duty. He was holding on to the one life he still had the chance to save. Because the last time, he hadn't been able to. From that day forward, everything changed at the shelter. Dr. Harris ordered that Cooper and Luna never be separated again, not even for checkups. Instead, they would heal together, as they clearly needed one another more than any medicine could provide. A cozy corner was set up just for them. A thick bed, soft blankets, toys, and warm lighting. Cooper would lie down first, and Luna would immediately climb onto his chest, curling up beneath his chin like it was the safest place in the world. And for her, it was. Over the next few weeks, Luna's crying stopped completely. Her appetite improved. She began to play, batting gently at Cooper's ears and climbing on his back as if she were his shadow. Cooper's limp eased with therapy in time. His eyes grew brighter. He smiled more. Staff noticed he wagged his tail more frequently when Luna was nearby, and only when she was nearby. Volunteers came in just to watch them. Some would sit for hours, just observing the silent love that radiated from the pair. Local news picked up the story. The dog who refused to let the kitten cry alone. But those who saw it in person didn't see tragedy anymore. They saw healing. Pure and complete. Weeks later, the shelter received a letter. A married couple, Sarah and Jason, had seen Cooper and Luna's story on the local news. It moved them to tears, not just because of the bond, but because it mirrored their own. 2 years earlier, they had lost their pets, a dog and 2 kittens, in a devastating house fire. Since then, their home had been rebuilt, but their hearts still carried the weight of that loss. When they arrived at the shelter, Cooper lifted his head the moment Sarah stepped inside. Luna peeked from beneath his paw, curious but calm. Sarah knelt down and whispered, "Hey, sweetheart." And without hesitation, Luna climbed into her arms. Jason extended his hand to Cooper, who sniffed it, then leaned into his side with a soft sigh. The staff didn't hesitate. The adoption was approved. As they drove home, Cooper and Luna lay curled together in the backseat, just as they always had, but now on their way to a forever home. One with a backyard, a fireplace, and a pair of hearts who knew exactly what it meant to lose and to love again. It wasn't just an adoption. It was destiny finally fulfilled.